Hello, everyone. My name is Chris. I'm the product manager for the release stage. I'm here with Hayana, the interim product designer for the release stage. And this is the release 15.2 planning issue for the release stage. So our themes for this milestone are deployment approval iterations, instrumentation, and usability issues. And what that looks like in terms of issues, I'll go through the P1s here. Are these issues right here. So the first one is edit the number of required approvals for deployments on settings. So this here is letting users more easily configure the deployment approval feature. So specifically setting the number of approvals. Right now, kind of the workaround is users have to kind of unprotect an environment, reprotect the environment, set the number of approvals. That's a little cumbersome. We want to make that as easy as possible if they need to make configuration changes. The next one is fixing the deployment approval pop-up to support multiple approval roles. So we've been iterating on deployment approval functionality past few milestones. One of the enhanced iterations that we made recently was to allow a more complex approval structure. So enabling separation of duties where one group can trigger deployments and another group can approve the deployments. And even beyond that, you could have multiple groups be required to approve deployments. And so this makes sure that our existing deployment approval functionality in the UI is able to support all those different types of complex approval structures. All right, the next one. Next one is actually related to our releases functionality and feature in GitLab. So this one, it's been around for a while. It's part of our release direction. It's highly requested from customers as well. And what we want to do is enable editing of the released at date right on the release page. This is currently available in the API. This is another iteration to make that a little bit more usable, user-friendly, and UI, part of the UI. The next one here is a bug actually that we want to fix. And so what's happening now is if there are invalid URLs configured as part of an environment, this actually raises some errors during the environment update process. But it's a little, but those errors happen a little silently. And we want to raise more visibility as to what's happening in terms of updating and why it's failing. And so what we're now going to do is add some soft validation to the URL so that the user can now see whether that URL might be malformed or isn't valid, and they can take action to make updates to that and correct it if needed. So this is just a way to, again, to raise awareness of why some errors might be happening, even the deployment might be successful. We just want to make sure this is more usable, user-friendly for the users. Right. The next one is related to our environments and in managing environments within GitLab. And so this specific iteration adds the ability to set never as a value for the auto stop in parameter for environments. And so today we let users set a time period for when those environments should be automatically stopped, and our documentation actually specifies this, and some of our other related types of functionality lets users specify never, but it doesn't actually work for environments. And so we want to make sure that we want to add that capability. It's sort of consistent with the rest of our patterns for this type of configuration. And also users, we've heard that users actually want to be able to do this, specify this in the YAML file. Okay, the next one is instrumentation. And so we've released our first iteration of our new category called continuous verification, which is really exciting. We want to add instrumentation for that and understand our initial usage and understand areas where we can improve upon it. And so this issue is instrumenting that specific functionality where users can use or can add the environment action verify keyword into the YAML file. We want to track that over time and potentially roll that into our monthly active user counts for our different stages and categories. Okay. And then the last one on the P1 list is adding deployment tier to the CI job JWT token. Today, this token will include, when getting secrets as part of a CI job, will include environment name, if relevant. It'll also include whether the environment's protected. We've had a request from a customer recently, and it builds upon some of the other functionality we have already to add the environment tier, just so the users have more context about what tier the relevant environment the CI job is deploying to, what tier that is. And so we want to add that as a parameter to the JWT for additional context. Okay, so those are the P1s. Just really quickly to show, we do have quite a few P2s and P3s on deck as well, just in case we finish all these a little bit early. And those span, as you can see, different UX, bugs, front-end related issues across our different categories. Okay, and with that, I'm going to pass it over to Hayana to discuss the design work for the milestone.
Yes, thank you, Chris. I also want to talk a little bit about the great news, right? That Emily Baldwin will be joining the release team as a product designer. Emily is transitioning out from the GitLab growth team, and we're really excited to have her join release in June. So looking forward to have Emily in the future here with you, Chris, during the kickoff session and the kickoff recordings.
Definitely very excited to work with Emily. And yeah, all of you watching, you'll start to see her on these videos soon.
Yeah, awesome. Right, so my first item is a quick recap of the solution validations for the environments page. We wrapped up the interviews and documented the insights in 15.1, and we have identified a handful of opportunities and pain points that will be addressed in future iterations. For 15.2, we're going to address the low-hanging fruits with different UX issues, a total of 6 different design issues. And our research goal was to validate if the series of interface updates to the environments page actually improved the usability of our product, and also to understand if the information that was being displayed there was the most relevant, the most important to our users, and why. After these updates were released and were shipped to production, we received some feedback from customers that reached out about how the changes were impacting their workflows, and that's why we did this investigation. You can read the full recap. This is a private confidential issue in GitLab, but for those that have access, you can see the insights and the documentation about our findings. But pretty much we learned that the UI changes implemented in the environments page received overall negative feedback from the study participants, and that the interface was considered somewhat difficult because participants, they didn't have an at-a-glance view of how the deployments were doing. If you're familiar with the environments page, you know that it shows a series of collapsed like accordions in the UI, and users have to click multiple times to expand and collapse the environment details. They can directly point their team members to a particular deployment, etc. So we talked to, I think, a total of 5-6 participants. And the issues I'm going to talk a little bit about now will cover, as I mentioned, the top insights, right? The first one is about search discoverability for deployments. Several participants mentioned during the research, during the interviews, they would like the ability to search and filter for environments and deployments, compare versions of code, see the success deploy in previous environments, and that having a search bar similar to what we have now in the issues, the merge requests, and other areas of GitLab would be really helpful to do that, because they would be able to quickly search for example, the type of a deployment, a production, and see who had deployed or who approved something to a particular protected environment, etc. Vlad is one of our front or backend developers. He's already working on a POC for search-ready environments, a very simple search. And then this milestone will be doing the broader UX proposal. So what would that look like if we have to consider all the search tokens and what those are, what we have today in the backend, etc. So we can iterate on this design proposal and possibly break down this issue into further iterations. The next issue, it's about the overall, I would say, usability and that experience of the expand and collapsible pattern in the environments page. As I mentioned, we learned the participants struggle to find the relevant information in that collapsible view. And hiding the information could be was frustrating to some of the participants, especially for those that manage a high volume of deployments at scale. So imagine you have, I don't know, over 100 environments and you have thousands of deployments. To find information you need to click, expand, and then click again to see more details, etc. We will address some of these concerns, and one of the main issues is either understanding how this interface can change and potentially removing that pattern of expand collapse from the environment view. The next couple of issues also address usability and discoverability. The page is missing also some crucial information that talks about the health status of an environment of a deployment. Right? Users want to know how the environments are doing. They want especially to troubleshoot failed environments and see the information that connects that environment to a pipeline or a job or a merge request or a Git tag. And that information is not available today. We show for example, the commit SHA, but you cannot click to go to the commit page. That makes users have to figure out how to navigate through GitLab and, for example, go to the pipelines page to see a complete list of previous deployments for an environment. But then there they don't necessarily see what environment that commit was deployed to. So overall, to be able to manage environments and deployments, we learned that the participants and the users, they are looking to unblock their teams, and they need information such as the Git tag, which is this issue that we see on screen now. And also, as I mentioned, the ability to link a deploy to a pipeline or a job, merge requests associated to a deploy, and also link their teams to a specific view of a deployment, like anchor URL to something. We don't have that today. See who created, who approved or rejected a deployment. So we have introduced deployment approvals, but now we're going to come up with a design proposal based on the research and also the UI patterns on how to display that comment on the interface. So those are many exciting changes, right? Those are just the low-hanging fruits that we can work on a particular view for the environments interface. And for the rest of the insights, we'll be addressing those in the upcoming iterations with different design proposals. And as I mentioned in the beginning, you can check back the research issue and find all the actionable insights related to environment management on that issue. That's it for me, Chris.
Okay, thank you, Hayana. I'm really excited about all of the research that you did and the results and the feedback that we got from our users, and all of these actionable ways we can make the products better. I just also want to highlight, as you were talking about these, it reminded me just how usability is so important with our product. And so in one of our FY23 product investment themes is improve key workflow usability. And with the environments page, with these deployment workflows, these are critical workflows for organizations, making sure all of those are streamlined. We heard literally this morning from a customer about one of the main pieces of feedback is just making sure things are streamlined and easy to use. And so just another reason these are so important. So excited we're working on these as well. Okay, so that is it for 15.2. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and let us know. Otherwise, see you next month. Thank you.